Welcome to Latinos Who Thrive, the podcast that celebrates the resilience, creativity, and successes of the Latino community. I'm your host, Victor Escalante, and each week we bring you inspiring stories from Latinos who are breaking barriers, achieving greatness, and making a difference in their communities. From entrepreneurs and artists to leaders and innovators, our guests share their journeys, challenges, and triumphs, offering valuable insights and motivation for all. Join us as we explore the diverse paths to success and learn how you too can thrive. Let's get started and celebrate the power and potential of our vibrant Latino culture. What a show we have for you today. We are thrilled to welcome Ivette Mayo, a speaker, author, and the founder of Power on Heels, an advocacy foundation dedicated to empowering women of all ages. Ivette will share her inspiring journey from Puerto Rico to corporate America, including a chance encounter with the legendary civil rights activist Dolores Huerta, which motivated her to start her nonprofit foundation. So let's get started. And now we have Ivette Mayo with us. Ivette, welcome to Latinos Who Thrive.
Thank you, Victor, for having me. I'm so honored to be here today.
We're very happy and excited to have you with us today because just last week, I interviewed Dr. Sal Bueno, who is a PhD from California, who is an advocate for education of Latinos. And it was a very heartening conversation. And I think we can continue the conversation of education of Latinos and the work that you're doing, which we're going to get into later on in the podcast. But what I want to know from you is tell us your story. Tell us your origins. Where are you originally from?
Well, let me tell you, thank you for this opportunity and being able to share this story with your audience. So I'm from a little island, Puerto Rico in the Caribbean, from a little town called Manatí. It's one of those little places that you kind of just drive through, but a little town full of amazing history. My father's in the military. He joined the Navy, and then we left Puerto Rico when I was 6 years old. So I'm a child who was raised most of my life moving from place to place. Just to share with you, from second grade to seventh grade, my brother and I went to 13 different schools. So changing communities, acculturating and assimilation to new communities was something that I grew up with. Now, that's what we call it now. Back then, we called it surviving. So I feel like that early training from moving from Puerto Rico to the mainland to different cities and different communities in those cities kind of set me up for my corporate career, which I'll talk about here shortly. But one thing that came along with that is understanding that even though in our casa, we had our Puerto Rican traditions and mindsets and food and language, outside the front door, the world changed and it was different. And learning the language and new culture and new communities was something that, my brother and I had to really just jump on and really adapt to quickly. But one thing that I realized as I moved on, went through high school, went through college, and then got married and moved around and joined the corporate space, I realized that one of the biggest challenges that face a work group, a workplace, a person, an individual, is dealing with change. We all grew up saying, Mami, ¿por qué hacemos eso así? And she would say, porque así se hace. That's the way we do it, right? And that same mindset happens a lot in corporate communities where that's the way we do it. That's the way we've always done it. And people were resistant to change. And then when things happen like reorganizations, the reorg change, some people have to leave and some people have to move to other departments. People don't always handle those changes really well. I always dealt with things like this. Okay, well, that's what we're doing now. Okay, let's move to it. I didn't try to spend a lot of emotion on it. I just went along with it. But I feel like the early years of my life set me up for that. The reality of it is not everybody deals with change well. So as I moved into my corporate space, I've done real estate, banking, I've done professional development, sales, marketing, all kinds of different things. I guess where I found myself finding my real purpose is when I had a job with a major carrier, and I was over training over marketing and sales, not only domestically, but internationally. I also worked with all our international partners and made sure that their training was in place and coincided with our training. So that way the customer touch points were always similar, that everything was streamlined. But I always found that as a teacher standing in front of the room, as you're talking about policies and procedures and new processes and new learnings, people didn't always embrace things because it always represented change. And, there's this theory that if you feel uncomfortable, you're learning, but not everybody sees it that way. So as a teacher standing in front of the room, I realized that I had the ability to continue to impact people, not only in their personal space, but professionally, how they grow, how they can have an impact, how they can be more successful. So I realized, as we say in our language, ese es mi don. That is my purpose, mi don.
Yes. So I want to back up, though, because you have had a storied career. And I know some of your story because I've known you for several years. And we've crossed paths on several occasions. I want to know from you, because I've interviewed a lot of Puerto Rican natives on my podcast. And I want to know, did you face any negative stereotyping as a Latina with a strong Puerto Rican accent, or no?
Let me just say, I have faced a lot of bias because I'm Puerto Rican, and other Hispanic communities because I'm not like them. I lived in Southern California, 20 minutes from the Mexican border. I was far from Puerto Rico and close to Mexico. So, there's certain biases and challenges that presented. In the corporate space, yes, there is biases there, not only because I was Latina, because I was a woman, but I'm very forward in my expressing myself, soy bien directa. And so then that translates not only to biases, but also stereotypes as you're aggressive, you're too much, you need to calm down, just these adjectives are being added to who I am because they expected me to be quiet and just to get along. So, I get that from both sides, some, soy quien soy, right?
I want to go out of the limb, and I'm going to say, Ivette, that things have changed. But on another level, the more things change, the more things stay the same. And I champion a lot of your activism in helping Latinas with your nonprofit that we're going to get into. But I've interviewed some Gen Z and some millennials for my podcast, and the word that they're now using is somos chingones, okay? I'm quoting them. I'm not calling them, but it's like they're taking ownership of their ethnicity, of their superpowers of being bicultural, bilingual, and biracial. It's like you name it, a Latina has superpowers that they're now coming into their own sense of power.
I'm gonna say this to you. I'm not a Gen Z or a millennial. My career path started 30 years ago when they were just little eggs. Okay, I'm telling you what I experienced coming up. Where I am now, I am that person. I am bold. I am disruptive. I'm innovative, and I don't stay quiet. But it took a process to get here. And so I'm so glad to hear that this younger generation is taking on that role of being chingones. But that wasn't the role that we were in 20 or 30 years ago.
I had to keep our mouth shut. Yeah.
Right. Can I also say is that that's the generational shift. So we were able to set those, we've had great trailblazers in our society, in our communities that have told us, don't stay quiet, speak up, speak your mind. The reason they hire diverse communities is because we bring innovation to the workplace. We bring new ideas, new thoughts. And if you expect us to be quiet, then you won't achieve that. So I applaud this new generation for their boldness and their disruptiveness, because that's who we are. We are a strong community of innovative thinkers and with new ideas and these ideologies of strength and power. I am super excited that is what you see trending, because that's what needs to happen. We as a community are strong and powerful. We unfortunately, we come from, you and I, let's just be safe. We come from that segregation community back in the 60s and 70s, where you be quiet, you get along, don't bring attention to yourself, and just get it done. And now we are raising a community to say, hey, listen, we've done that for way too long. We need to speak up. They need to hear our voices. We need to be heard. And that's one thing that we have to really help. And I'm so proud of the work we do with Latinas, because we want to disrupt this dicho. I hate it. I don't want to hear it anymore. It is calladita, te ves más bonita. And for those who don't speak Spanish, it translates as, when you're quiet, you are prettier.
Yeah, that's a saying that comes from mothers, isn't it? What is the origins of that?
To be honest with you, I don't really know where the origins are, but I know it is collective, whether you're Colombian or Mexicana, Puerto Riqueña, Cubana, de Ecuador, they've all heard it. It's not one community. It is widespread. It is a dicho that has been being used within our culture for a long, long time. And it's kind of been ingrained in our thought processes, but most importantly, in our attitudes and our mindsets that really inhibit our actions. So yeah, pa fuera con eso. We're going to destroy it.
So now I want to come back to where we left off. You rose up in the ranks. You obviously were exposed to a lot of specialized training in leadership, in HR, in management training. When you got to the pinnacle of that career path, Ivette, what did you discover? It's like, what did you develop an awareness for as it related to Latinos in the workplace?
What I realized is that Latinos were also in the workplace, but they were also inhibited by their own belief systems, their mindsets of traditional roles, how men and women should behave also in the workplace. They bring these cultural mindsets. So they were looking at their workspace through their cultural lenses. So women wouldn't apply for leadership roles because they didn't believe they were leaders. They were support people, not just in Latin America, but also in Asia and in Europe. There was certain defined roles that not only within a workspace, but also within their culture. Women do this and men do that. And I realized that was a barrier that was, as we call the glass ceiling, but it was a barrier that women had to learn to overcome because it was keeping them from economic empowerment. They weren't able to make more money because they weren't going for these roles because they didn't believe they should have these roles.
I want you to talk about culture, Ivette, because as Peter Drucker says, culture eats strategy every day. What is the culture? It's like, explain to us your understanding of how culture sets those barriers, that we need to begin to question those barriers and realize that it's just a real imaginary barrier that anyone can break through. You just got to shift your mindset to realize that you're not going to be restricted. You're not going to be confined by those cultural barriers.
I want to use the analogy of culture and water. Okay. So water is fluid. If it's flowing, the land turns to the left, the water turns to the left, and then piles, and then it just continues to create a pathway. If you were to spill water, it will spill all over the counter because it's completely available to it. Culture is that same way. It's fluid. It's constantly changing. It's things change culture. So one of the things that we add to culture is traditions. Now, traditions are things that we honor and we respect, but can we be real about this? Traditions were created by people in a different time, in a different place, under different situations. We honor them and celebrate them, but the reality of it is a lot of those things do not apply today. So you can carry it forward, but it's not for application. is for reference or remembrance, right? Culture is a thoughts, ideas, traditions fall into that, beliefs, right? And when any of those dynamics change, the culture changes. So I am Puerto Rican, born in Puerto Rico, came to the United States. And every time I moved into one of these spaces, I was being reacculturated in some way. I was learning a new language. I was eating new foods. I was being around different people from different communities. When I moved from Key West, Florida to California, again, acculturation of a new community. So my culture is dynamic. There's that fluid water moving and changing and embracing and adapting to the community that I am in. All of those things continue to be part of me, but every time I enter a new community, I have to adapt. Culture changes. We have changed. We have changed in the last 50 years, in the last 5 years, well, in the last 5 months, in the last 5 days. We learn things about ourselves. We experience new things, and those new experiences create new ideas, new belief systems, and also new relationships. So to me, the analogy that culture is like water, it is fluid. It changes with the times, with people. That's where you see people succeed. These multicultural people who are like, okay, I can survive here. I can do this. Acknowledging and remembering the past and what mommy and daddy told us, what we've learned through our faith. But we continue to adapt and readapt because that's how we continue to be successful. Where we get grounded and where you see people who aren't able to change and cannot move with the change, those are the people who get moved out. Those are the people who have to find another way, another place to succeed. And they tend to surround themselves with people just like them. And that is safe.
I concur. Ivette, who influenced your fluid mindset to go with the flow and adapt and thrive?
It's kind of funny that you asked that question, and I answered this to somebody recently in a personal conversation. It was my abuelita. We called her Popo. And when Popo found out that we were going to be leaving to the United States, she sat me down and she said, "Mijita, you're going to learn a lot of different things. Don't judge it. Do it. And then if you don't understand it, ask questions. But whatever you see, and try it. Whatever use your judgment. Don't be scared. It's going to be different, but try it. Just like the food, she shared with me, the food would be different. And this is a person who had a 5th grade education, a simple woman who worked her whole life but she was my first inspirer. She's my first mentor. She's my first, that person who pushed me forward. But she told me that as a young girl, right? And you know what, to be honest with you, to this day, I don't forget those words. Try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but you learn something. You learn something new, but you learn something about yourself, right?
That's very good advice. Very sage advice, and a woman that was ahead of her time.
Absolutely. But this is what we do. See, we don't know what we don't know, and then when we're told something, we believe it. Well, if you believe a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. But to who? To you and everybody else, or just to you? We have to be disruptive and be willing to break those cultural norms, those structural norms that we have in society, those corporate norms. We have to be able to break through those things. And you know how we do that? By asking questions. Tell me why that's important. Why are we doing it this way? Is it important to focus on something else as well as this? If we don't do that, and if we do this, do you think we'll have success? Help me help you, right? Asking questions is so valuable. And I think too often we don't ask enough questions to gain the full understanding. And when we have full understanding, we can really have influence and impact and create change. But when we don't say anything and we don't ask questions, things continue to be the same.
You are also a best-selling author, and I want you to give us some of the tips from the books you've written. But I also want to know, who were the authors that influenced your thinking and your forward, active, visionary advocacy that you now lead?
Thank you for talking about my book, because that's another conversation. We have to also see that we can do more than what we do, right? Because if I stayed in my corporate lane and didn't leave that, I wouldn't be an entrepreneur. If I wasn't an entrepreneur, I probably wouldn't write a book. And if I didn't write a book, I probably wouldn't have created my cards that I got on shelves, Target and at Walmart and all these different places. And then we have to look at the thing is that we have to look outside of ourselves to grow. So I love to read. I think some of the things someone said to me one time, hey, you should see this guy, Tony Robbins, right? And I'm like, Tony Robbins? So I saw him a couple of times on TV, and I go, the guy on TV? Well, I read a couple of his books, The Power from Within, and then I saw he did seminars. And you know what? I went to one of his seminars. And one of his 2-day seminars, I found out that I can walk on fire. And it was a mindset. If I believe that I could walk on 10 feet of hot burning coals and not get burned, that I can take on anything in life, no matter what it is. Now, that sounds crazy, but if you believe you can, you will. Belief is at the heart of everything. And he was someone, of course, there's amazing people like Oprah Winfrey and all the things that she's done. But what's important is that we have the capacity to overcome our circumstances if we change not only our beliefs, change our actions.
Your comment made me think of the NASA conference where I was one of the speakers, and we all walked on glass, remember? It's a metaphor for you to realize that you can overcome your fears, because most people think that if you walk on fire or glass, you're going to be seriously hurt. And again, it's just breaking through that real imaginary fear for you to realize that that's just in your mind. You can overcome that illusion so that you can do more.
Absolutely. So bringing back to the conversation about my book, I had decided I wanted to write a book a long time ago, but then, didn't really do anything with it. And then one day somebody says, Ivette, you should write a book. And I'm like, you know what? I should. I already have one. And I went back and I read it and I go, hey, it's not half bad. But, the thing about it is I think there's a book in everyone. It's just that people are also scared to tell their story and to talk about their weaknesses or the things that make them weak, right? I haven't had a perfect life. So part of the book is telling that story about myself. I didn't always have someone like my popo around me telling me that I can do this and I can do that. I had people tell me that I was too dark. I was ugly. I was not smart. I was fat. I was this. I was that. I mean, people had, called me names and said things to me. Remember, as I moved into all these communities, I wasn't always welcomed, right? But if you hear things enough, you start to believe those things, and that you start believing that you're not worthy, right? That you don't deserve to think that you can overcome these things, that you can be more than what other people think. So you hear something and it gets ingrained in you. So my book is called Your 30-Day Guide to Your Powerful Words for Powerful Outcomes. And the reason that becomes important is because it takes 30 days to do something consistently to create a new habit, a new behavior. And so the process is walking the people who read this book on overcoming some of that negative language that you have stored into your brain, and into your body, into your soul, that other people have placed there. Not that you believe, not that you've created it, but you've accepted it. And if you were that person back in the day or at a different time, you are no longer that person. So you have to void yourself of that. So you do it by creating self-affirmations. Now, we all know that the word I am are the two most powerful words in spoken in any language. But what comes after that has even greater power. The book that I created was not affirmations, but what I call I-affirmations, where I affirm me, is what I am saying about myself and what I believe about myself. So why am I powerful? I am powerful, but why am I powerful? So the words have more power. And the goal is to get someone to do that within 30 days. So walking someone through that process, that idea, and then the back of the book is like a 30-day journal walking you through that process. So at the end of those 30 days, you have basically changed your idea of self. You empower you. It's your words, it's your ideas, and it's your belief of you. Not what others say of you, but what you say about yourself.
You're listening to Latinos Who Thrive with special guest Ivette Mayo. We'll be right back. Are you ready to unlock your full potential and embark on a journey of limitless knowledge and boundless creativity? Look no further than Wizard Academy, where dreams become reality. At Wizard Academy, they are not just a school, they're a community of visionaries, dreamers, and achievers. Whether you're a student, a working professional, or someone looking to reinvent yourself, Wizard Academy has a place for you. I know because I'm a graduate of the World Changers class of 2007 when I worked in print media. Imagine being guided by industry experts where innovation knows no bounds and where your passions are transformed into skills. Their cutting-edge programs span technology, business, arts, and more. You'll discover the magic within you and you wield it with confidence. At Wizard Academy, they embrace diversity and creativity, and they celebrate your unique journey. So be sure to join them in the heart of innovation where the extraordinary becomes ordinary. Visit them at www.wizardacademy.org now to explore their lineup of courses, faculty, and the incredible success stories of this community. Your future is waiting. Unleash your inner wizard today. We now return you to Latinos Who Thrive with special guest Ivette Mayo. Your book has been on the market now for years. I was actually at your launch of your book.
Yes.
What have you heard from readers? Tell us the effects that your book has had on people's lives.
Well, over the years, and the book was launched, I want to say it's 2017, so it is 2024, so it's been a minute. But I think it is a timeless message that men and women need to read and experience, that they need to go through. So some of the comments that I've heard over the years, and even just recently, because somebody actually read it before and has now gone back and reread it, went through the 30 days again, is that allowing them to have to give themselves permission to redefine themselves, to reset, ideas, and who you were in a marriage and then who you are in a divorce situation. You're two different people. An employee versus an entrepreneur, you're a different person. So it's giving yourself the ability to redefine who you are in the state that you are in right now, and not bringing that old stuff with you. It happened in the past, leave it in the past, but let's grow from where we are right now. And unfortunately, beliefs and ideas are things that hold us back.
We need to make them more fluid. I like the concept, and now we know from science, Ivette, that they were correct all along. The Navajos, one of my instructors, who was an anthropologist, told us that their language is based on action. Everything is a verb. So the chair is chairing, the mountain is mountaining, the person is personing, the cancer is cancering. What that does is that frees up the constraints of things being fixated so that we can affect change. And so your message is very spot on of taking culture and turning it into a fluid process instead of being something that is fixed and doing things the way we've always done them.
And, one thing that we have to remember is that even though we talk about the word believe, as, it's a verb, you believe, I believe, right? But it's also tied to what people perceive to be the truth,
Yes.
right?
The subjective truth that someone believes that we buy into and never question whether it's really a truth or whether that's just an opinion.
But this is the crazy thing is we create beliefs without absolute proof.
Yes.
Right? Because yo lo dije, porque es así, I said it and that's the way it is. No, we have to, that's why, what happened to the curious person that we were as children, right? We took a car apart because we wanted to see how it worked, right? We undressed Barbie because we wanted to, and then we never were able to get the clothes back on. But, it's just the curiosity of things, right? What happened to the curious us? That we're not asking questions, that we're not being disruptive and trying to change the norms and not just accepting things.
That's true. Very true. All right. So you started a nonprofit called Power on Heels. Talk to us about what led you to start that foundation.
Power on Heels Fund Incorporated. It's been around 6 years now. It started actually more like 8 years. I started this organization called the Power on Heels Network on Facebook. And it was my way as I was speaking at national conferences and events and different ERG groups within corporations. I always found that after I was on stage, being one of the few Latinas being invited to speak on leadership or whatever the case was, it was always after the conference or the session that it was the 2 or 3 Latinas in the audience that would come to me and go, oh my God, you were speaking to me. I felt like it was the first time we've ever had a Latina on stage. And I just, your message resonated with me and everything you said. So I started I had to figure out how do I keep these women connected to me, but also possibly be connected to each other. So I created the Facebook group because back in the day, we're talking 8 years ago, right? So the millennials who are online, don't cringe yet, right? But this is 8 years ago. Technology has, moved forward since then. But it gave me a sense of a community, but it gave me an opportunity to stay connected to these women by either sharing continuous lessons of business growth or professional growth, or just, you're not alone, inspiring that Latina wherever you are. Because one of the things that I wanted to make sure is that I heard this wonderful woman, she was executive vice president at Johnson & Johnson. Her name was Larissa Cunningham. She says, as Latinas, we have to get over the lonely and only space, where we're the only ones in a space and feel lonely and misunderstood because we were, right? We have to learn to overcome that so we can be powerful, right? And so I created this Facebook space so that way women can connect. And then I had the opportunity of being at a conference and meeting and having a good long conversation with an amazing woman called Dolores Huerta. So at this conference, she just got off stage. She did the Si Se Puede. We were charged. But then the crowds happened and I gave up. I hate crowds. So by finding a place to sit, and I looked up and the person sitting in the section all by herself was Dolores Huerta. So I went over and had a conversation with her. I shared with her what I do, my book, all the things that I did. Then I shared with her the Power on Heels Network. And she said to me, Mijita, turn that into nonprofit because our community needs that. And corporations will fund you and you can get sponsorships from that. No one is going to give you money for a Facebook group. And I took those words of wisdom, came home that October. By December, the application was created in 2017, and May of 2018, we had ourselves a nonprofit. And a board was developed, and all of it was set up to be a program, a platform where women can come and learn and relearn things to help them become successful in their education, their workspace, and in their business, so they can become their best advocate for themselves in today's marketplace. I cannot make Latina gender pay gap go away, but I can help a Latina become her best advocate for her future salary and the money she can make. I cannot close the leadership gap, but I can help Latinas change their mindset about leadership, who leads, and how powerful they can be as leaders, right? And I can't change the financial situation of our community because of our ideas of money and how to generate money, but I can help Latinas have a better concept of money, how to manage their money, and build generational wealth. So Power on Heels became our platform. So we're not a networking event. We're an educational platform helping Latinas understand financial mastery, emotional intelligence, and leadership skills that they have and can develop to become their most powerful advocates ever. So we've been doing this for 6 years, and now we also give scholarships, and not scholarships just to students. And I want to be clear on that, because when we hear scholarship programs, we always think about students. Our scholarship programs allow professionals to apply as well. That woman who wasn't able to complete college, she can go back and get a scholarship from us. A person who's in the workplace and she can't get a promotion because she doesn't make enough money, because she can't go outside the company to get additional certifications and training because she's taking care of 3 generations at home. But we can give her a scholarship so she can get that certification so she can make more money at work. And then that business owner who makes this money, pays salary, builds new products, but doesn't always turn around and invest in herself. So our program allows not only students to continue their education, professionals and business owners not only take professional development training, but also finish MBAs and doctoral studies, because guess what? There's not scholarships for those things either. Latinas need to be supported. Not only are we able to give $1,000 to someone so she can finish her studies or pay for a semester or for a class or training, but what does that mean? It translates to more money and her ability to support her family and her community better. So in the last 6 years, we have given away $66,000. And we're proud of that because we have changed the lives of not only those Latinas and their families and their communities, but everyone who's come through our programs. And in the last 6 years, we've had over 3,000 Latinas come through our programs. Whether it's been virtual, whether it's been in person, whether there's been 5 people in the room or 200 people in the room, we've had impact on the lives of that many women. And our goal is to continue.
That's amazing. What other highlights have you been able to achieve as a result of the launch of this program? Talk to us about any one that comes to mind that could be a representation of the positive impact that you're having with Latina members.
Well, I could think of a couple of people. There's one particular lady that I hope she doesn't get embarrassed when I say her name. Her name is Laani Smith. Laani is from Central America. She's first generation. Her parents came here. She was born here, and very smart woman. She is a Latina in STEM, and she's done some amazing things working for other people. One of the interesting things is that when she came to Power on Heels is because she found us on Facebook in one of our events, and she came, and she had never been to an event with only Latinas in the room, outside of people that she was not related to, right? And so and then we were learning and we were talking about challenges that we were having, whether in the business space and how, just speaking from a Latina perspective, right? And she became not only a volunteer, continued to participate, but Lahani applied for a scholarship, and she decided to create a shift in her career and do project management. And for some people, for a woman who has her degree in her MBA, they're like, why do you want to do project management? But it was something that she found a need in her space that she felt she could do. She could enhance her career by having this skill set. Long and short of it, she got the scholarship. She's doing her training and development, and she continues to be a mentor. She comes back and talks about how the program has helped her grow personally and professionally. She participates in our programs, And this year we launched a workforce readiness program that we needed mentors. And we had a young lady, again, Salvadorian, first generation, doing stuff in technology, a Latina in STEM, but she lacked a role model and mentorship because it's such a male-dominant community. We were able to connect Lahani to that young lady. What's important is they're kindred spirits. She doesn't have to pull out some kind of code sheet to speak to her because they're the same person. They have the same experiences. They didn't have anyone to understand them. So it's been a 2-year journey with Lonnie Smith. She's evolved in her career. She's changing her knowledge base. She's coming back to give back. And then now she's mentoring somebody on their journey. And so to me, that comes full circle. When you're able to bring somebody into a community, help them, and then they stay and continue to bring others forward. So she is definitely one of the people who stand out in my mind about the work that we've been able to do.
That's awesome, because you're actually impacting not only the community, but generations to come as a result of being that seed, as a result of having that positive impact.
Absolutely. But you know what all of this also does is, as we're talking to these women and we continue to have grantors who give us money for grants to do our programming, and sponsors who come and see our mission and want to grow with us and have impact. But it also gives us a chance to see what's still needed in the marketplace. So 2 things have happened this year that we have added to our programming because of the need in the marketplace for Latinas. And one is in the college student, that college senior who's now transitioning into the marketplace. We all know that there's just only so many internships available, and they also lack mentors and role models to help them understand how it is to transition from college into the workspace. So this year we created and launched our first workforce readiness program called the Progressive Leader Program. And we put the students through professional development, how to transfer those college skills into the professional workplace. We also connected them to a mentor in their area of expertise. And we also created an internship program for that first cohort. So there were 3 parts. The young ladies are currently in the final stages of their internship program, but this program started back in January. So we've invested time and resources in the development of 5 amazing Latinas, and we are preparing them for that next stage in life. And I have to tell you, to me, I smile at the universe to know that we've been able to do that. Because think about when we made that transition. Nobody told us anything.
We were on our own.
We had to figure it out.
Yeah, you got your diploma and hit the road. It was like,
yeah, because we've already put somebody else in your seat. So exactly. We look to expand that program next year even further. And then the next program that we're doing is we're actually creating a Latina business incubator. Latinas create businesses more than any other group in today's.
That's a fact. Yeah,
that's a fact. I don't have to. But one of the things too is we don't always create sustainable businesses.
Yeah.
Sustainability is so important. I mean, build it today for the long haul so you can create generational wealth. Heck, you can sell it and create even different kind of wealth. But we are going to be focusing and creating, we're launching it this October, is our Latina Business Incubator. We're going to take women who are kind of in the startup field, who've actually been generating money, but haven't actually created a DBA, an EIN number, an LLC, understand how marketing really is going to need to impact their business, that it's not just social media, right? How to network, how to basically build a business, right? The goal is we've got great partners that what we're going to do is from the very beginning of that program to the very end, not only are we training and giving them this education and these resources, but we're also helping them create an LLC. We will be filing those documents through that program. So not only are we legitimately creating businesses, but we are helping them change their mindset. So when all of those things happen, they are ready to create a successful business.
That is fantastic. Now, Ivette, you have an event coming up. Tell us about that.
This is we have a lot of different programs. So all our programming is on poweronheelsfund.org on our events page. We have multiple events throughout the year, but our big annual event is on November 12th. That is our 6th annual Luncheon and Scholarship Awards. That is where we present this year's scholarships to the young ladies who have gone through our program, applied for our program, gone through the committee, and been awarded this. So you'll get to meet those amazing women and hear their stories. Then we'll have an amazing keynote speaker. We'll have a national speaker coming from one of our amazing partners to continue on our theme this year, which is change makers. And change makers, it's important for us to celebrate these people because it's a powerful affirmation of the human spirit. It's the capacity of innovation and change. And these are people who inspire us to think critically, courageously, and really kind of engage us collectively. So this year, our theme is change maker because we want to make sure that we honor those who have blazed a trail for us, but also for future generations to be innovative and advocate for themselves so they can thrive as well. So we're super excited to not only celebrate our honorees of our scholarships this year, we want to present the young ladies who completed our cohort of the Latina Progressive Leader Program, and then also the Latina Incubator, Business Incubator. So we'll have an opportunity to present these women who courageously are standing up for themselves and changing not only our communities, but their families, but most importantly, their image of themselves. So we're super excited. We hope that people can join us. This is what we raise money for. We raise money for this all year long. So coming out supports not only this year, but future give, so we can continue this program, not just 6 years from now, but 60 years from now, because our community deserves to have this type of celebration of not only who we are, but who we are becoming.
And all of your contact information will be on the show notes. If companies want to get on board and support your foundation and have a part in building up Latinas.
Oh, we welcome them. We'd love you to come. Not only just listen, you could throw your money at us. Thank you very much. But be part of the community. Bring your employees, use us. Because one of the great things that we do, Victor, that you may not see everywhere else, our programs are free because we use the monies that we receive to create these programs, but also make it available for people for free. So no hay excusa. There's no reason why you shouldn't come.
Right.
And corporations, one of the things that happens, unfortunately, when they start downsizing and creating change internally, they don't always provide additional training or professional development for their employees. So if you're sponsoring us and we do this, send your people our way, right? They should learn and become, but it's an opportunity for them to learn, to become better leaders, and to go back and influence their space in a more creative and powerful way. It makes sense for everybody involved. So please come support our ideas, our longevity of our programs, and the ability to continue to develop these programs and still make it free for our community.
This is reinvesting in the community so that you are, again, contributing in a positive way to the community by helping one person at a time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And can we just keep it real? We can't change the gender pay gap. It is a global inequity. It happens in every country and every community. It is different state to state, right? But it's real. And it's different for not only women of color, but just women globally. We can't change the leadership gap because of certain mindsets that are there, but we can become the best leaders as possible by changing our beliefs and building skills that we have, but also building on skills, but also developing skills we need.
Very well said. Si se puede. Any final words, Ivette?
I appreciate you, Victor, for giving me this, for this chance. But I think what's important is that we as a community understand that change is needed. And I think that each one of us has the ability to create change and to influence change. But we can't be scared, right? We can't. We have to get past this fear, right? And can I just say this one last, metaphor? But fear is like a roller coaster ride. You buy the ticket, you get in line, and then right before you get on that cart, you question, do I get on or do I get off? You get on, and before you get to the first curve, you are scared out of your life. You're questioning every reason you had to buy that ticket, even get on the ride. But by the time you get to the bottom of that ride, which takes maybe 4 whole minutes, you now say, oh my God, that was so much fun. Let's do it. The person at the top of the roller coaster became paralyzed. Fear became what they felt, and they were ready to give in. But the courageous person stepped into their fear, went for the ride, and realized not only did they survive, they learned something from it, and they enjoyed every part of it. Don't let fear stop you from doing what you need to do.
And what a ride, right?
And what a ride. Hang on.
All right. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you for your time and your talent, Ivette, and my success. And you got to come back and keep us up to date on everything that's going on in your foundation and all the positive things that you're doing.
Absolutely. You just let us know when and we'll make it happen. But I just want to thank you for continuing to highlight Latinos and how we are influencing our communities, industries, and the world through the things that we've learned from the past, the things that we're learning in the present, but most importantly, the change we want for the future. So thank you for being that platform.
Thank you. Sí se puede. Until next time, friends, go out and have a great week.